Hello and welcome to this new SAP S4HANA Cloud Knowledge snippet. In today's snippet we will be looking at how you can embed your own custom logic when it comes to the determination of the picking location of your materials in the context of delivery processing. Now what I'm about to show you could be applied to deliveries for sales orders, any kind of delivery, but what we will be using as a use case today will be the processing of deliveries for raw materials or components that you provide to your suppliers in the context of a subcontracting process. So I've already created some of the master data and transactional data required to make this process happen, but quickly looking at what has been created so far. So I have this material called SAP23, and this is my subcontracted material. So this is the one that I am purchasing from my supplier on the basis of materials, components that I will send to him. And of course, to define which are those materials that I'm going to be sending to him, I have created a bill of material for my subcontracted item. You see, it's a very simple BOM. I only have 2 raw materials, which I provide in a quantity of 1 unit each. So I send these materials to my supplier. He does some transformation on those, and he brings me back SAP23. If I look at either of these 2 materials here, how they're defined in the material master, in the MRP2 view, now I can see that I have indicated there 2 storage locations. So the first one is 171C, which is the storage location for external procurement. So whenever a requisition is going to be created, this is the storage location that will be defaulted as the storage location. Similarly, I also have defined a production storage location of 171B, which strictly speaking is the production storage location from which I would do a goods issue in the context of backflushing components to a production order, for example. So applied to raw materials, this production storage location really is the location from which I would want to issue this material out of. And this is what we're going to try and do, is we are going to try and embed our custom logic into the delivery processing of delivery types that are used to process components for suppliers, and default this particular storage location in the delivery as a picking location. Now, the reason why I'm also showing this is because even though I have determined, even though I have maintained the storage locations in my material, and I could even maintain these storage locations in the BOM for my components, what we will see is that when I create a subcontracted purchase order, and if I look at the one that I've already created, one aspect of this process, the subcontracting process, is that the storage location that I have in the material or the BOM does not follow across into the purchase order. So if I look at this particular purchase order, even though in the material and or the BOM I could have said where I want to issue this material from, it is not being propagated into the purchase order, which of course is going to create some issues when I come to process the delivery, because the system is not going to know from which location I would want this item to be picked out of. So let's go one step back. Let's go out of this particular purchase order and let's go to the subcontracting cockpit and try to process the delivery for these components to kind of illustrate what I mean and what we're going to be trying to solve. So I'm just going to say execute. And I'm going to select all, so I have my 2 components for my purchase order, which is the one that I've just shown you. So let's go and pick, for example, these 2 components. I'm going to say more, create the delivery, and we'll see that the system is obviously presenting the plant. He's also picked up the shipping point, but at this point the storage location is blank, and this is somewhat normal, so we're not going to worry about that too much. Now I'm just going to say create the document, and I would now expect for the system to go ahead and create a outbound delivery. oops, sorry, I'm just going to pick those two items and I'm going to say create a document. Now the system here is saying that the delivery has been created and indeed saved, but the system is also providing me these error messages saying that the material PRERM13 does not exist in the storage location 171A. Now it's somewhat surprising why the system would pick 171A, because I have not even maintained this particular component in this storage location. But at the same time, it also highlights perfectly well the issue that we're trying to solve for here, being that the system has somehow determined a storage location which is just not the one that I would want to pick out of. So I'm just going to copy this particular delivery, and I'm going to delete it so that I can keep processing this particular purchase order. So let me just go back to change outbound delivery. We're going to change and delete this outbound delivery. So let's go to outbound delivery. My menu seems to be stuck. Outbound delivery, delete. And we are going to say yes, we really want to delete. So now that we have deleted this outbound delivery and my purchase order is back to its initial state, let's go to the Manage Your Solution application and see how this picking area, this picking location 171A was determined in the first place. So let's go and find an SSCY related to shipping point, and we are looking at picking. So let's go to the picking. And if we now go to assign picking locations, we'll understand why the system picked 171A. Well, if you recall, in my delivery, we had the shipping point 1710, and we also had the plant 1710. And here it tells me that in the case of these combinations, then the determined storage location should be 171A, which of course, as I said, is not what I want for my deliveries of goods sent out to my supplier. Now, in terms of picking location determination, I also want to highlight here that another option that you might have would be to use the storage condition settings that you would set in the material master. So potentially using the storage condition is going to be sufficient to meet your needs to determine the picking location. Maybe you do not need to use custom logic to obtain and determine the shipping location. So just want to point it out that custom logic is not always a must go-to solution. Okay, so now the other thing that I want to look at before we move on to looking at the custom logic is that we have this other sub-selection here, a configuration step called define rules for picking location determination. And if I go to configure, we will see that we have, for a given delivery type, a certain rule to determine the storage location. Now, most of those have been initialized with the location rule MALA or MSRE. And if we look at what MALA is, it essentially is a determination based on the shipping point plant storage condition, which is what has happened to our delivery before. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go and define the custom logic that will be used to determine the storage location in my deliveries. But you can also already here down at the bottom see that you have this from YY to ZZZ custom rules rule that can also be used. So once we have defined our custom logic, we'll need to update the rule to be the custom rules for our LB type delivery, which is deliveries for subcontracting. So let's get out of this for just a moment. As said, the next thing that we need to do is we need to go and define this custom logic. So let's go to the custom fields and logic application, and directly we go to the custom logic, and we are going to add a new implementation. And what we want is, let's see, shipping, and we want to use the shipping delivery item business context, because we want, of course, this determination to happen at the delivery item level. So I'm going to pick the delivery item, then we go to the body, and as you can see, we have this last step here, storage location determination, which is exactly what we want to do. And then we put an implementation description. So we'll say storage block determination, not very original. And I'll also keep, excuse me, the implementation ID proposed as the default. So let's go ahead and create this new enhancement. Okay, so we can see that we have a draft logic example that is proposed, which is commented out, and essentially the logic proposed is saying if storage location item in shipping point is 0002, then the storage location out equals 0002. So already here it kind of tells us that we have a certain number of parameters in that can be used to determine the storage location out parameter. Of course, as usual, I would recommend that you read the documentation, as succinct as it might be. It might give you some additional hints and help. And in particular, you can see here this note where it tells you that as a precondition, the rule for determining the storage location, picking custom rules, must be assigned to the corresponding delivery type. So this is what I just showed you in the SAC UI. And we'll come back to that once we have defined our custom logic. Now, as I said, the custom logic that we want to implement is that we want to default into the delivery item the production storage location that we have indicated for the material that we want to deliver to our supplier. So let's get rid of all this. And also let's look at the available fields. So you also here have the entire list of import, so parameters going in that can be used, that can be read to determine the storage location out, i.e. the one that we want to determine. So there's quite a few parameters that are available as parameters going in that you could leverage within your own custom logic. And we'll come back to that a bit later on when we try and use it. So now we can put a bit of commenting. So let's start off by saying logic to determine storage location in subcon deliveries. Okay. Now what I want is to, of course, apply this to my deliveries when they go through my shipping point. So the first thing I'm going to say is that if the storage location, because as you can see this is the in parameters have to be storage location item in something. So storage location item in, I can do control space to do autocomplete, and we are going to say item in, and we are looking for the shipping point. Shipping point equals, so 1710. So this is already kind of setting the scene to say if the shipping point is 1710, which is the shipping point through which my deliveries are going through, is equal to 1710, then whatever else logic I'm going to add, this will apply. And so let's do a bit of a space here as well. Let's go back down here. So storage location item in, and this time we're going to say the plant is equal to 1710. So adding to the logic to say if the plant is 1710 and the storage location item in rule, and again we can do control space to do auto determine rule for determining storage locat equals YY. So that will be the custom rule that we saw in the drop down. Then this is where I want now my logic to happen, where I'm going to say if all of these conditions are fulfilled, then I want my storage location to be whatever I want it to be. Now I need to go and fetch the information of the production storage location from my material, and thankfully for that we have excuse me, a custom CDS that we can leverage. Not a custom CDS, my apologies, a standard CDS that we can leverage to pick this information. And the CDS that we are going to use is the one named product plant, which is this one right here. And let's have a quick look at it and look at the fields. And this is the field that we want to get the information out of, which is production inventory managed location. And that corresponds to the production storage location field that we also have in the material master. So let's go back to the custom fields application. And here we can now put this logic of getting the production storage location from my material. So I'm going to say select single production. Let me just quickly, which is this one here. Just do a quick copy paste. Inventory managed lock from, again, we can have a quick look at our CDS and get the name of that, which is iProduct plant. From iProduct plant into at storage location out. So I'm saying go and pick the production storage inventory managed location from the CDS iProduct plant and put the result into storage location out, which is the parameter that we are trying to determine that will hold the information regarding the storage location that needs to be copied into my delivery. Now I need to put in the conditions that will determine that need to be fulfilled in order for this location out to be selected. And I'm going to say that I'm going to pick it where the, if we go back, so where the product is equal to at storage location item in material, in other words the material that I am currently processing in the delivery, and where the plant is equal to at storage location item in plant, in other words the plant that I have in my delivery. And we are going to put an end if statement to, oops, a typo, end if statement to finish our logic. So I'm just going to say save the draft. Okay, now one of the things that you can also do at this point here would be to say, okay, so let's give that a quick test. So I've put in my logic that if the shipping point is 1710, if the plant is 1710, and let's see. Now I should have my custom rules somewhere. Here we go. YY. And I'm going to say my material number, which is PRERM13. So let's give that a try. So I've indicated my input parameters, and if I test my logic, let's see, what does it say? Draft logic has been tested, and it says that it was able to find the storage location 171B, which is exactly what I have in my material. Let's have a quick look just to double check that that is correct. So let's go to change material, PRERM13. Let's have a quick look at the MRP2 view. It really doesn't matter, the storage location. But yeah, you can see here that it is indeed 171B. So the logic is working as we would want it to work. So let's go ahead and publish this particular logic. System tells me that my draft logic is going to get published. I'm all for it. And my logic has now been published. So that will now also appear in my list of implementations. Perfect. Now, if you recall, the last thing that we need to do is we need to go back to the shipping point, the assignment of the rules in the shipping point configuration spot. And we need to here tell it that the rule that we want to go by is not the Mala rule, but we want to go for the YY rule. So I'm just going to say save. And there we go. This has now been taken into account and changed. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go back to the subcontracting cockpit, and I'm going to reprocess that very same purchase order that I had before. So I'm just going to pick my two components once again. So again, select those two items for my purchase orders, go to more, create the delivery. Again, the storage location, as you can see, is at this point blank. But once I save my delivery, hopefully, fingers crossed, my custom logic will kick in, and the storage location 171B will then get copied into the outbound delivery. So let's go ahead and create the document. Okay, so already we're not getting the error message, we're getting a compilation, so it's a good sign. And the system now does not output any error message. It just tells me that the delivery has been created. So I'm just going to make a note of that number. I'm going to say continue. And if I now go back and look at this outbound delivery, then I should see the storage location 171B having been populated in it. So let's go to the picking tab. And you can see, perfect, 171B has been copied from my material into my delivery. So there you go. This was a very simple but relevant use case showing how you can implement your own custom logic to determine the storage location in deliveries. In this case, the delivery of components to a supplier. But as said earlier on, this could really apply to any kind of delivery as long as you have correctly also maintained in the SSCOI the rule stating that you want to use a custom logic. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a thumbs up, like the video, share it with your network, and subscribe to stay informed of all the new released videos. Thank you for watching.